immediately starts flowing through that private LLC. We're talking millions of dollars from Turning Point and from Turning Point Pack. Right around that same exact time, Tyler Boyer, who could barely handle his HOA fees, buys a $1.9 million mansion with $600,000 down in cash.
Of course it was pre-recorded. They were literally watching the Super Bowl. That TPUSA halftime show was a mess. I watched it, so y'all didn't have to. And yes, Kid Rock was lip syncing.
Erika Kirk and the Turning Point USA crew just got slammed with something they never saw coming. Word is spreading fast that every single TPUSA account has been allegedly frozen by the IRS right in the middle of a major investigation. Inside the organization, sources say the vibe went from confident to complete chaos overnight. Panic hit hard, phones were blowing up, and everyone started scrambling to figure out what just happened. But here's what's wild. People outside the group aren't even surprised. The only ones shocked by this mess are Erika and her team, because whistleblowers have been dropping hints for months that TPUSA's finances looked way off. The red flags weren't small, they were flashing bright for anyone paying attention, yet leadership just brushed it all off like it was nothing. Now it's looking like the IRS might actually have receipts, proof that serious money was being moved around inside TPUSA in ways that should not have been happening. This isn't some minor hiccup that can be cleaned up with a polished press release. When the IRS freezes your accounts mid-investigation, that's not just bad PR, that's a full-on financial earthquake. That move by the feds means one thing: investigators believe there's real evidence of financial misconduct serious enough to lock down every dollar right away. That's not a small step, it's a major power move that sends a loud and clear message. And just when you think this story couldn't get any messier, it does, and honestly, nobody should be shocked. Remember TPUSA's so-called patriotic Super Bowl halftime show? The one hyped up to be this massive flag-waving moment for America? Well, that whole plan has completely blown up. Reports are flying that Kid Rock never got paid for his performance. And let's be real, Kid Rock isn't the type to take that quietly. He's now warning that if his full payment doesn't hit his account immediately, he's ready to spill everything he knows about TPUSA's financial dealings. Every dollar, every document, every shady move. Inside Erika's circle, that threat has sparked total chaos. People are scrambling because Kid Rock isn't just some small-time act you can brush off. He's loud, he's well-connected, and he's flat-out furious. You can feel the tension boiling over, and it's got everyone asking one big question. If Kid Rock, someone who was supposedly tight with their movement, is calling them out this hard, who's next? How many other performers, vendors, and insiders are sitting on their own unpaid invoices and unanswered emails just waiting for the perfect moment to speak up? Because if Kid Rock starts talking, you can bet others won't stay silent for long. And to really understand how TPUSA got tangled in this mess, you've got to rewind to how that flashy halftime show was put together in the first place. This event was hyped up as TPUSA's ultimate patriotic alternative to the mainstream Super Bowl halftime show, a big, bold stand against everything woke. Erika pushed it hard, selling it as a cultural moment that would scream, "Real America is still here, and it's louder than ever." Every bit of it was wrapped in red, white, and blue branding, tied straight into TPUSA's fundraising engine and pitched to their supporters as something worth pouring money into. But the second the lights went out and the show ended, complaints came flooding in. People said the quality was weak, the production looked cheap, and the performance didn't live up to the hype at all. Those who paid to attend or donated to make it happen started demanding answers, asking the question nobody at HQ wanted to hear: where where did all that money actually go, because it clearly wasn't spent on making the show unforgettable. And here's the kicker. The whole thing at its core wasn't even about the art, the music, or any grand message. It was a slick way to pull in more sponsors, move more merch, and slap heavy price tags on tickets while hiding behind patriotism. Basically, it was a fundraising operation dressed up in stars and stripes. Once supporters realized that, the disappointment turned into pure outrage and fast. To make matters worse, Kid Rock and the rest of the performers still expected their checks, because that's how business works. You show up, you perform, you get paid. Simple as that. But insiders say that payment never came through. Reports claim it was directly withheld under orders from TPUSA leadership, and that decision has now blown the whole situation wide open. Not delayed in processing, not lost in accounting, withheld on purpose. And the reason? Straight up, they just didn't have the money to pay him. The second word got out that Kid Rock hadn't seen a dime, everything flipped upside down. Insiders immediately started connecting the dots, linking the missing payment to the IRS account freeze. Vendors who had been waiting patiently began comparing stories, and soon the same question was echoing through every corner of TPUSA network. If the headliner didn't get paid, who else is waiting on their money right now?
I think we're at like over 200,000 for merch sales. Don't quote me on that because I think it just keeps like bumping up like.
That's when the real panic hit hard. It's one thing for a small-time contractor to stay quiet when they're missing a check, but it's a whole different story when a major artist with a national platform starts making noise about being stiffed. Kid Rock isn't someone you can ignore. He doesn't need TPUSA. In fact, TPUSA needed him. And now that they couldn't even hold up their end of the deal, the whole operation's image started to crumble fast. But here's the part that makes this whole situation impossible to brush off. For some, this alleged IRS freeze came as a total shock, but for people who've been paying attention to TPUSA since Charlie Kirk's passing, it was practically expected. The warning signs were right there, flashing in plain sight. Figures like Candace Owens had been raising alarms for months before the IRS ever got involved. She repeatedly used her platform to question where all that money flowing into TPUSA was actually going, and according to her, none of it added up. The numbers didn't match, the explanations were thin, and the accountability was nowhere to be found. But instead of taking those warnings seriously, TPUSA's leadership brushed them off like background noise, and now it's all come back to haunt them in the loudest way possible.
The messengers got slammed, and the real concerns got buried deep. Candace Owens even brought a private investigator onto her podcast, someone who actually went through TPUSA's financial records line by line. What that investigator exposed wasn't just shady, it was downright alarming. He claimed that TPUSA had multiple missing tax documents, and get this, one of their own subsidiaries didn't have any tax filings for 2024. Not incomplete ones, not late ones, none at all. Zero. Gone. And here's the twist that flips this whole story on its head. The money problems didn't start after Charlie's death. According to insiders, Charlie himself had started noticing that something didn't add up with the way money was moving inside his own organization. He saw the warning signs and wasn't about to ignore them. Sources say he even ordered a full internal audit of TPUSA's finances before he passed away, hoping to get clear answers about where the cash was really going. But before that audit could uncover everything, he was gone. What happened right after Charlie's death is something that shocked everyone watching, and not in a good way. The moment he passed, TPUSA didn't pause to mourn or reflect. They immediately launched a massive merchandise and fundraising push. Not weeks later, not even days later, literally the next day. The official website exploded with new t-shirts, memorial merch, and tribute products plastered with Charlie's name and image.
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
They turned his death into a full-blown marketing moment, painting him as a martyr for their movement while cashing in at the same time. That move left a bitter taste in people's mouths, and for many, it was the moment they realized something about TPUSA had changed forever.
The operation moved fast, like lightning. It was organized, slick, and pulling in serious money almost immediately. Within days, multiple fundraising campaigns popped up under TPUSA's name across every major platform you can think of. Donations from those campaigns alone reportedly racked up close to $10 million. One of the biggest fundraisers, pushed through Tucker Carlson's platform and brand, supposedly brought in over $5 million all by itself. And that's not even counting the extra cash rolling in from the memorial tour, the book sales, the royalties, and the paid speaking gigs that followed in the weeks after Charlie's passing. Each of those projects opened up a new revenue stream, and according to investigators, every single one of them added another messy paper trail that led straight back to TPUSA's top leadership. What started as financial rumors suddenly became something deeply personal and explosive. The real shocker hit when a recorded Zoom call between Erika and TPUSA staff leaked online and went viral. The footage came from an internal meeting that happened just days after Charlie's death, and it completely flipped the public's perception of her. Viewers couldn't believe what they were seeing. Instead of grief or sadness, Erika came across as upbeat, even cheerful. People said there was no trace of heartbreak, no emotion, no pause, no moment of reflection. Instead, they heard laughter, inside jokes, and, according to those who reviewed the footage, Erika bragging about how much money TPUSA had made from Charlie's memorial events only days after losing her husband. She was allegedly laughing about the revenue like it was just another business win. That leaked video hit like a bomb online. It destroyed the sympathetic image many people still had of Erika. Supporters who once defended her started turning away fast, shocked by the tone of that call and questioning whether the movement they believed in had turned into something far colder than they ever imagined. Once people started asking questions, they couldn't stop, and they couldn't unsee what they'd already noticed. How much of what Erika had been promoting as faith-based mission work was actually just a money grab from the TPUSA community? How much of that honoring Charlie's legacy message was heartfelt, and how much was a clever fundraising strategy wrapped in the language of grief? Those questions hit hard, and they refused to fade away. But instead of calming the storm, Erika made it worse, way worse. When people started pressing for answers, she didn't respond with honesty or transparency. She went on air and threatened those who dared to question her. No explanations, no clarity, just blame and backlash. She pointed fingers at critics and went after anyone demanding to know how TPUSA's money was being handled. And when those threats didn't scare people off, she suddenly went quiet, passing the mess to her PR team to handle. But the silence only added fuel to the fire. The more she ignored it, the louder it got. Public trust started collapsing, and soon frustration turned into full-on outrage. Everything finally blew up when protesters showed up at a major TPUSA event, forcing Erika to face the backlash head-on. The breaking point had arrived, and there was no spinning her way out of this time. This all came right as she was launching what she called TPUSA's Make Heaven Crowded tour, kicking it off at Harvest Church in Riverside. The tour was supposed to be a touching tribute, a movement to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy and spark a nationwide Christian revival. But now, that message was being drowned out by angry crowds, unanswered questions, and a growing number of people wondering if the entire tour was more about money than ministry. Big promises, bold words, and a heavy dose of spiritual branding. But the moment the first event kicked off, the scene outside those church doors painted a totally different picture. Within minutes of the show starting, over 100 people had gathered outside the venue, and they weren't there to worship or celebrate. They were there to protest, loudly, passionately, and for everyone to see. The crowd held signs calling out serious issues, from immigration enforcement actions they described as family separations, to outrage over the ongoing conflict in Gaza, which many felt leaders inside the event were completely ignoring. The chants were loud, the energy was tense, and the frustration was real.
The message is a singular message. It is the Christian right. It is supporting MAGA. It is the ridiculous pageantry of Charlie Kirk.
And it didn't stop there, because the choice of venue added even more controversy. The event was held at Harvest Church, where Pastor Greg Laurie was already facing multiple lawsuits involving allegations of sexual misconduct. So before Erika even stepped on stage, the location itself was already setting people off. So picture this. Inside the church, Erika Kirk standing under bright lights, preaching about faith, revival, and legacy. But just outside those same doors, total chaos, raised voices, protest signs waving, and a growing crowd demanding accountability from the very organization she was leading. The contrast was jarring, almost cinematic. And instead of stepping outside to calm things down, acknowledge the concerns, or even just choose her words carefully, Erika went in the opposite direction. During her speech, she labeled the protesters demonic. That single word hit like a grenade. It instantly wiped away what little goodwill she still had left. Even people who had been standing by her through all the previous scandals suddenly couldn't defend that move. Supporters who once saw her as a strong faith leader started turning their backs fast. In one night, her attempt to revive the movement turned into another PR disaster, one that left even her most loyal followers questioning everything she stood for. If Kid Rock really does step forward and hand over those contracts, things could get explosive fast. Investigators wouldn't just be chasing rumors anymore. They'd have hard proof, direct links, and signed agreements that expose exactly how the money was handled behind closed doors. And if what insiders are whispering is true, those documents could reveal names, transfers, and numbers that no one at TPUSA ever wanted the public to see. Behind the scenes, sources say Erika Kirk is scrambling. Meetings are happening daily, lawyers are being called in, and insiders claim staff have been instructed to stay quiet and wait for guidance. That kind of messaging only adds more suspicion, because when leadership starts silencing their own team, people start wondering what's being hidden. Meanwhile, the internet's not waiting for official answers. Social media has erupted with hashtags calling for full transparency, demanding that TPUSA release its financial records and publicly address the IRS investigation. Clips of Kid Rock's interviews and statements are trending non-stop, and every time his name comes up, so does Erika's. The connection between them and the money trail has become impossible to separate. And here's where it gets even wilder. Several smaller vendors who worked on the Super Bowl show have now come forward, claiming they too haven't been paid. Lighting crews, catering staff, and even one of the promotional teams say they've been ghosted by TPUSA since the event ended. One vendor told reporters, "If Kid Rock's still waiting for his check, what chance do the rest of us have?" That single quote lit up online discussions overnight. At this point, what started as a single unpaid invoice is snowballing into something massive, a full-blown credibility crisis for TPUSA and Erika Kirk personally. Every move she makes now is being watched, every statement dissected, every silence questioned. People aren't just asking whether TPUSA mishandled its money anymore. They're asking whether the entire operation was built to keep the cash flowing no matter who got hurt along the way. And unless Erika steps up and faces the situation head-on soon, it's looking like this storm is only just getting started. Now the spotlight isn't just on the money, it's on leadership. Because when an organization starts shaking at the top, people naturally start asking who was actually in control the whole time. Was Erika fully aware how every dollar was moving, or was there someone else behind the curtain pulling the financial strings? Either way, the responsibility doesn't just disappear. Insiders are saying the board members at TPUSA have gone unusually quiet. No strong public statements, no detailed breakdowns, no transparent financial summary to calm the noise, just carefully worded responses and vague assurances that everything is being handled appropriately.
It's interesting because he asked her the question, do you think these protests are helping? Personally, I do not. I think it's
That kind of language might work during minor drama, but this isn't minor anymore. When federal investigators are involved and high-profile performers are threatening legal action, people expect more than polished talking points. And here's what's really adding pressure. Donors are starting to hesitate. Big contributors who once wrote large checks without blinking are reportedly asking for documentation before committing to anything new. Grassroots supporters are flooding inboxes demanding refunds, or at least clarity on how their contributions were used. The trust that once fueled TPUSA's rapid growth is cracking, and once trust breaks, it's hard to glue it back together. Behind closed doors, some longtime allies are said to be distancing themselves, quietly, carefully, publicly supportive but privately cautious, because nobody wants to be tied to a financial scandal if things go from investigation to indictment. And that word indictment is starting to pop up more and more in online discussions. Meanwhile, Erika's public appearances have noticeably shifted. Fewer live Q&A sessions, fewer unscripted moments, more controlled environments where questions can be filtered. That change hasn't gone unnoticed. Critics are saying it looks like containment mode, not confidence. The biggest issue now isn't just unpaid invoices or missing tax documents, it's credibility. If supporters start believing that leadership knew more than they admitted, or worse, ignored warning signs on purpose, the fallout could be permanent. And with Kid Rock still waiting, vendors still speaking up, and investigators still digging, the clock is ticking loudly. Every day without clear answers adds another layer of doubt, and in a situation like this, doubt spreads faster than any official statement ever could. At this point, this isn't just another controversy that's going to fade away next week. This has turned into a full-blown crisis that's hitting TPUSA from every direction. Legal pressure, public backlash, unpaid performers, frustrated donors, and now a federal investigation hovering over everything like a storm cloud that won't move. Erika Kirk is standing at a crossroads right now. She can either come forward with full transparency, open the books, answer the hard questions, and clear the air, or she can keep relying on silence, tight PR control, and carefully scripted appearances. But the longer this drags out, the more people start assuming the worst. And in today's world, perception spreads fast, faster than any press release ever could. The Kid Rock situation alone could reshape everything. If he escalates, if documents become public, if investigators get more cooperation from insiders, this story could jump from online drama to something much bigger overnight. And once that door opens, it doesn't close quietly. Supporters are watching, critics are watching, donors are watching, even former allies are watching. The real question now isn't just what happened, it's who knew and when. Because if leadership had warning signs and ignored them, that changes everything. And if they didn't know, that raises a completely different set of concerns about control and oversight. Either way, trust has already taken a serious hit. This entire situation started with red flags about finances, but it has grown into something deeper. It's about accountability, it's about leadership under pressure, and it's about whether a movement built on strong messaging can survive when the spotlight turns inward. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think this is just bad management spiraling out of control, or do you believe something more serious is unfolding behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read them all. And if you've been following this breakdown and want more deep dives like this, make sure you hit that like button so more people see this video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next update as this story develops. And definitely share this with anyone who needs to see what's really going on. This story isn't over, not even close. Stay tuned, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.